Hours now until this year's NBA draft. Here's a look at the top 5 picks for Thursday. The Spurs are going to kick things off with their pick being far from a secret here, followed by the Hornets, Blazers, Rockets, and Pistons to round out the top 5. Hey everybody, Russ Thaler at your service for our final mock draft presented by Jeep. There's only one. This mock will be based on what we know right now on Tuesday night, understanding that certain things are pretty fluid and will be up to the draft itself. On Thursday, we welcome in our team of draft experts. We got 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting Adam Finkelstein here with me in studio, CBS Sports College Basketball Insider Matt Norlander, and CBS Sports NBA Draft Analyst Kyle Boone. Gentlemen, good evening. And you are all assigned picks for the final edition of our mock draft. We're going to focus here on picks 1 through 5. Matt, you've got it easy. You get the number 1 pick. Victor Wembanyama is in the Big Apple, ready for his big night. Why are the Spurs so keen on taking him at 1?
Well, it's not because of his baseball skills. There's some concerning video that has emanated out of the Bronx on Tuesday of a first pitch from Wembanyama. Thankfully, he is a basketball player. Here it is. Oh, you hate to see it. Wemby, don't let it be an omen. Please don't. Wembanyama is a surefire number 1 pick, and he is the prospect who is the best in this class. He is the best in the past decade. He is the best since LeBron James. The San Antonio Spurs have the opportunity in drafting Wembanyama to refuel the franchise and potentially make the Spurs a relevant championship contender in short order and potentially for the next decade plus. He is that talented. We have never seen someone at Wembanyama's size with his skill that can do so much. He is going to go first, but I do want to remind viewers of this one thing. In talking to some NBA folks in the lead up to the draft, it is not 100% universal opinion across the board that Wembanyama is going to be, a 10-time All-Star. Most believe that he is headed toward a very, very bright future. However, in speaking to a few front office people earlier this week, there is still just a little bit of a, I want to see the body and how it holds up against the rigors of an NBA schedule in year 1, in year 2, in year 3. So we wait and see on that. If he can avoid any kind of injury issues, there's so much reason for so much optimism. You can see what they've done previously. Wembanyama's bar is actually even higher than these two players, if you can believe it. But San Antonio wins the rights to him, and we all cannot wait to see him get on a professional floor on stateside soil as soon as possible.
All right, Matt, you got off easy. Kyle, you are where the intrigue begins. At number 2, Hornets had Brandon Miller and Scoot Henderson in for workouts on Monday this week. And now the Vegas lines have moved, where Brandon Miller was once the betting favorite to go number 2 to Charlotte. Now it's Scoot Henderson. Who do you have as the pick here?
Yeah, Russ, it felt like a long time that Brandon Miller was the front runner to go number 2 here to the Charlotte Hornets. Betting markets, as you just alluded to, now have Scoot Henderson the favorite to go number 2. But hold the line. I'm going to take Brandon Miller at number 2 for the Hornets. It makes a ton of sense that maybe there's some smoke screens being thrown out here. Miller is 6'9". He's a great three-point shooter. He's a guy who I think would be an excellent sidekick next to LaMelo Ball. 6'9" in shoes, shot 38.4% from 3 in his one-and-done season at Alabama. He led the SEC, get this, as a freshman, in scoring, in win shares, in box plus minus, in made three-pointers. I think his game projects very easily to becoming a scoring wing. I think he can play next to LaMelo Ball, can develop into a co-star. So, look, I think Scoot Henderson is the better prospect. If I were the Hornets picking here, I would take Scoot Henderson. However, I do believe that they end up taking Brandon Miller here at number 2, and would make a lot of sense, I think, from a fit perspective, that they select the Alabama wing here at number 2.
All right, so Adam, after Miller then goes at number 2, we're talking about a foregone conclusion then at number 3?
Yeah, we are. I mean, I think Portland's choice is real easy, assuming they're not going to trade the pick, and there's been some smoke screens about that specifically to them reaching out to Miami, a team that was initially expected to target Dame Lillard. Now it's Portland saying, hold on, maybe we want to target Bam, but if they stand pat, this is going to be Scoot Henderson. If somebody trades for the pick, it's going to be Scoot Henderson. Scoot Henderson, I think, began the year as a consensus top 2 prospect. Brandon Miller really asserted himself into that conversation. But you were talking about just a physical specimen at the point guard position, an elite athlete who can attack in the open floor like no one we've seen in recent years. Not only is he totally explosive, but he's also creative and instinctive. He can see the floor, he can make reads, he can play pick and roll, even in a spacing that wasn't quite up to NBA standards with G League Ignite. Now, the question marks are his shooting, quite frankly. He's got to get better, although he's more comfortable in the mid-range area than he is from the three-point line. And while he is a long, powerful, and explosive athlete, he doesn't take, quite frankly, the same amount of pride in the defensive end of the floor as he does the offensive end. But I think Dame Lillard would be an absolutely ideal mentor for this player to bring it on an everyday basis because he has multi-year NBA All-Star type potential. That was such a kind way of explaining his defensive deficiencies. But well done out of you, Matt. The Rockets are up now at number 4. They got a new head coach, Ime Udoka. Who do you have them taking here?
Well, to have the Houston Rockets taking Amen Thompson in the 4th spot, and as we move closer to the draft, there certainly is some noise around the possibility of this happening. And if that were to happen, you would have one of the youngest and most athletically gifted pairs of wings and guards in the sport. Houston's got a long way to go, but pairing with Jalen Green, among others there. Thompson is a lead guard who, as Adam Finkelstein has said on our air previously in this lead up to the draft, is a top 1% athlete. The second he puts on an NBA uniform in the entire league, a very adept passer. He's got a very interesting, tantalizing game. No doubt about it, a top 10 prospect in this class. There are some sellers on him. I think his draft variance is probably anywhere from 4 to 7 overall on draft night. We're going to have him going to Houston here. There seems to be some increasing noise there, barring anyone moving in and trading. But if he were to go to Houston, it would be an intriguing fit, and he is a lot of fun. You can see the highlights here. These aren't college basketball highlights. He played for Overtime Elite, and so we have a limited sample size of high-end prospects to come out of that system. Not G League Unite like Scoot Henderson, but Overtime Elite. Competition it's the lowest among any between G League Unite and college basketball and overseas. We'll see how much that impacts or not both the Thompson twins. But Amen, narrowly over his brother Asar here. He's going forward to Houston.
Yeah, you're right. We should be seeing 2 Thompson twins take the stage at Barclays Center on Thursday. The last pick of the top 5, Kyle, the Pistons. They had the worst luck in the lottery, dropping to 5 even though they had the worst record in the league during the regular season. Who do you have going to the Motor City?
Yeah, it's bad luck in the lottery, but I feel good if I'm the Pistons picking at 5 here. Jarris Walker falls to me from Houston. I feel like Detroit has its backcourt of the future kind of locked up right now. Cade Cunningham, former number 1 pick. Jaden Ivey, last year's top pick. I think that's a good combo that you can build around. Walker is a guy who can be a floor spacing forward and really give this team kind of an enforcer on the interior of its defense. Walker last season shot 35% from 3 at Houston. He's a good playmaker who I think has some untapped passing potential at the next level. We really didn't see a ton of that at Houston, playing on a veteran Houston team. He's got a really advanced frame. As you can see here, he's very physically mature for being just a teenager. So someone who I think would pair very, very nicely with Cunningham and Ivy. I'd be thrilled if I'm the Pistons getting Jarris Walker at number 5. All
right, the AAC Freshman of the Year going number 5. That is a look at the top 5 picks in the upcoming NBA draft. Much thanks to Adam Finkelstein at 24/7 Sports, CBS Sports college basketball insider Matt Norlander, and NBA insider Kyle Boone. Thank you guys so very much. Here's another look at the mock top 5 for Thursday's draft. Wembanyama going number 1, followed by Brandon Miller at 2. Scoot Henderson, the current favorite to go to, according to the odds makers, but he is number 3 in this mock. The Blazers, and a pair of forwards with Cam Whitmore and Jarris Walker taking us through pick number 5. Who had the top pick in the draft and the Rookie of the Year last season? Same guy. They'll first pick at number 6 on Thursday night, followed by the Pacers, Wizards, Jazz, and Mavs. Rolling out the top 10. Russ Thaler back here in studio with 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting Adam Finkelstein. CBS Sports NBA Draft Analyst Kyle Boone joins us, along with CBS Sports College Basketball Insider Matt Norlander. And away we go with the 6th overall pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, Adam Finkelstein. The Orlando Magic select whom?
Well, they are taking Cam Whitmore, and they are thrilled that he is still on the board here. For a little context, Matt and I were on CBS Sports HQ yesterday. We first reported that Cam Whitmore, who was widely projected to be a top 5 pick, might not have worked out as well as expected in Detroit, could consequently be slipping. I think this mock draft reflects that. But Whitmore is perceived by many to be a top 5 talent. He is as explosive and powerful an athlete as you will find. He can really get downhill. He made immense strides with his shooting this year at Villanova. The concerns are a little bit of an inconsistent motor, a somewhat really bad, to be quite frankly, assist rate. Just doesn't really move the ball or share it like you would like, and has a tendency to break off from the offense. As I said, went into Detroit in the reports where he did not work out well, but make no mistake about it, his upside is one of the very highest in this draft. So if Orlando is able to pair him with Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, this is a dream scenario for them at number 6.
All right, let's keep things rolling. The Indiana Pacers are up next. Matt, who do you have Indy taking at number 7?
I have him taking Asar Thompson, and when we get to draft night and Indiana's waiting there, provided it hasn't traded out, I think the Pacers are approaching this draft with a lot of optimism over a lot of options that will be there. We'll have him go with Asar, the other Thompson brother out of OTE, who has a higher ceiling from a shooting standpoint. Certainly, by some NBA evaluators, put Asar right there with Amen. Amen is, again, he has a little more pop. Asar, more well-rounded game, a little more maturity to his game. Bringing in a player of his caliber with his potential into that Indiana system could really benefit them long-term. I happen to believe that Asar is not a player that necessarily is ultra fit dependent. I think his chances, and in some ways, to be clear, like, he's a twin. So some of what his game is resembles Amen, but he doesn't quite have, quite the level of athleticism, but he's still one of the best in this draft. But his eye for passing is very, very good. Generally considered to be one who takes pretty good care of the ball. And again, the shot is good. It's not great, but it's certainly better than Amen's. It would be a stunner if he went outside the top 10. That's why we've got him safely going to 7 at Indiana.
It's still kind of cool. We got a couple of twins who are likely to get taken in the top 10 in the draft for the first time. The Wizards up next at number 8, close to a fresh start in D.C. New front office, same head coach, but they did just trade Bradley Beal to the Suns on Sunday. Kyle, who do the Wizards turn to here as they hit the refresh button?
Yeah, they're shipping out their star guard, and they're going to draft another potential star guard. They're going to take Anthony Black from Arkansas. Anthony Black is a defensive monster, and I think that's the foundation on which you can really build kind of his projection and his prospects to the NBA level. He's a great on-ball perimeter defender, has really good length for the guard position, a really natural playmaker, really selfless type of game who really likes to get his teammates involved. He's a connective tissue type of player and super smart. I think he's a really good attacker, getting downhill, getting to the rim, needs to improve his shot. I think there's some questions about how his shot will project to the NBA level. Certainly did not shoot it particularly well at Arkansas, but he was trusted as kind of the number 1 option at Arkansas this past season on a roster that was pretty loaded in terms of NBA talent and production. And I think that says a lot about where Arkansas was with Anthony Black in terms of his trust level and the ability that they gave him to kind of run the show. So I like Anthony Black as a pick here at number 8. I think he can be kind of the future building block for this Wizards franchise.
All right, the Utah Jazz have their first of 3 first-round picks lined up at number 9. Adam, who do you have them taking?
Well, I have them taking Bilal Coulibaly, who is the teammate of Victor Wembanyama on Metropolitan's 92. Now, Danny Ainge running the Utah Jazz front office. That is relevant here because this is a big swing. This is the type of swing that a GM doesn't make or president of basketball operations doesn't make unless they have a lot of job security. Because let's be real about this. Coulibaly is 18 years old. He's very unproven. He didn't even start this season on the same team as Wembanyama, but he's made giant strides throughout the course of the year. He's 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan. That's extreme length to match his extreme athleticism. Has a ton of defensive potential. shows an ability to slash through contact. What we are questioning at this point in time is whether or not the shooting can pan out. Now, players who have that kind of length differential typically have an inverse relationship to their ability to shoot the ball, but he has shown enough signs so that you can be at least encouraged about his potential to make open shots long term. He's got to show he's got a little bit of feel for the game in terms of navigating traffic, but this is a high risk, high reward proposition that in my mind, Danny Ainge is going to be uniquely able to take with 3 first-round picks in this year's draft.
It's a classic story of everybody looking at one guy and suddenly they're like, oh, there's another 18-year-old dude on the court who's pretty darn good. End up in the top 10, perhaps, at least in our mock. Rounding out the top 10, you got the Dallas Mavericks. They got what they wanted, or at least the best they could settle for after pretty much nosediving at the end of the regular season. They indeed have a top 10 pick. It's number 10, Matt. Who are the Mavs taking here?
The Mavs are going to take someone who projects as potentially the best shooter in the draft. If you look at everyone we've taken 1 through 9 to this point, most of these players don't have a proven jump shot from the perimeter. This guy does. Jordan Hawkins out of UConn, who it would not surprise. We're going to have him go 10 here. His range heading into draft night is kind of seen anywhere from like the 9 to 17 or 18 range. If we get closer to the game time on Thursday, it would not surprise me if the buzz around Hawkins continues to grow, because although he is not a super well-rounded player, he just shoots. He shoots so well. The UConn staff told me in terms of footwork, shot gather, form. Listen, Tom Moore, who's been there forever, said the only guy who was better coming out of college at that specific trait, his name was Ray Allen. So, and I get it, like college coaches are supposed to pump up their guys, but wouldn't you know it? There you go. That's called production synergy, folks. And so we are going to have, and I don't think this would be a good fit, by the way. You got Kyrie there. We'll see if that remains to be the case. Luka's not going anywhere. Hawkins is not going to be a ball-dominant player. Will be wonderful off screens. I anticipate Jordan Hawkins, when we get to a decade from now, as I detailed at CBSSports.com, I think he's going to be a top 10 player from this draft class. So we have him going in the top 10. I think Dallas will be a wonderful fit. And I think he will be in a 3-point contest at All-Star Weekend in no time at all.
All right, excellent. That's a wrap on our final mock draft top 10. Much thanks to Adam Finkelstein, Matt Norlander, and Kyle Boone. Let's recap picks 6 through 10. The guys of Orlando taking Villanova's Cam Whitmore, number 6. Then at 7, we see the second Thompson twin, Asor, joining his brother as a top 10 pick. He's heading to Indy. Anthony Black to the Wizards at 8. Jazz taking Wemby's teammate at number 9, and national champ Jordan Hawkins to the Mavs to round out the top 10. Presented by Jeep, time for us to tackle picks 11 through 17, starting with Orlando's second pick of the first round already, followed by first-time appearances from OKC, Toronto, New Orleans, and Atlanta. Utah comes up for a second time at number 16, followed by the Lakers. Russ Thaler back in studio with 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting Adam Finkelstein, CBS Sports NBA Draft Analyst Kyle Boone, and CBS Sports College Basketball Insider Matt Norlander. I feel like we got our bases covered pretty well here on CBS Sports HQ with you three guys, and the Magic are on the board again. Kyle, who do you have Orlando taking at number 11?
Yeah, Orlando added Cam Whitmore at number 6. Here I'm going to come back, and I'm going to add some shooting. I think I'm going to add Grady Dick from Kansas. I think he is the best shooter in this draft. And I think most importantly, someone who I think would perfectly complement Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, add some spacing, add some shooting to this roster, I think would unlock a lot of potential. He's a really good transition player. He's got size, he's got skill, he's got scoring. I think will add to that wing depth there in Orlando. Comfortable playing on the ball. I think he has sharp enough handles to run some pick and roll options. We saw that at Kansas in some limited action. This is a guy who I think will be a difference maker for the Orlando Magic, and someone who I think most importantly is a really good fit. It's a good value here at number 11. I think will end up being a top 10 player from this draft just in terms of his productivity. Will have a long NBA career, a great three-point shooter, add a ton of dynamic offensive weaponry to this Magic roster. Really excited about getting him here at number 11.
All right, Adam, the Thunder are up next. Kind of a plucky young bunch a season ago. I think that's a fair way to describe them. And then they had the 2 overall pick who didn't even play. They're going to get Chet Holmgren back. Remember, it was LeBron who injured it. Well, I kid. Not really, actually. LeBron kind of got him in a pro-am.
Stepped on his foot.
Yeah, stepped on his foot. He was out for the season. Liz Frank
said, "You are skinny. You're going down."
yeah, but they're going to get him back, so they have a chance to get like two really good rookies coming up this season. Who do you have him taking here?
Yeah, and let's be real about something. If the draft works out this way and Taylor Hendricks is available at number 12, that would be just a phenomenal outcome for Oklahoma City. Taylor Hendricks is one of my personal favorite prospects in this draft. He's someone that I think should be in consideration as high as 5. I think he is in consideration at 5, 6, and 7. In this scenario, he would fall all the way to 12. The reason why he is held in such high regard is because he is the prototypical 3-and-D four-man by NBA standards. He's 6'9". He's a quick off his feet athletically. He's got solid length. He can really move his feet laterally. He runs the floor exceptionally well. So defensively, he gives you somebody who can block shots and also move out on the perimeter and guard pick and roll. Offensively, he's a vertical spacer. You see that bounce there. And then he can step away and knock down open threes. So he provides both ends of the floor spacing spectrum. So again, at number 12, he's an absolute steal. People will tell you that he has a high floor but a low ceiling because we haven't seen any shot creation from him yet. My counter to that would be he's 19 years old and he's improved by leaps and bounds in the last year. I have a really hard time putting a ceiling on how much better he can continue to get.
All right, moving along. Matt, you have pick number 13 with the Raptors. You've got him taking Duke center Derek Lively. Before we get to your reasoning why they're doing that, let's take a look at his draft journey presented by Jeep.
Started playing basketball in early first grade. Not just because my size, just because I was taller than everybody. It just felt like I could be authentic to who I am.
Good, pop your feet. That's it.
Being able to know that my game transfers well to the next level. This isn't the time to mess around. This isn't the time to take your foot off the gas. There's a lot of other people trying to steal your spot. This is where the best of the best come. This is where you find out who you really could be.
Begin to visualize yourself, your performance, how you want to play, how you want to look, how you want to start off the day. Visualize it, see it.
My mama told me.
I'm from Philadelphia, PA, and I've lived all over PA. My childhood has been a bumpy road. We've been able to live in a lot of different locations.
Yes, sir, let's get it. John, break us out, Big J.
But me and my mom and my family have just always used to just living on the road.
3, 4, 5, 6, be great. 1, 2, 3.
Family.
4, 5, 6.
Be great.
Let's
jog
get
it out, jog it out. Let's go, boys. Sit.
My mom played basketball, and my mom's father played basketball.
2, 1, 2. Yes, sir.
She scored 1,000 points at Penn State. She's grabbed over 700 rebounds.
Driving baseline. Step away, Derek. Finish. Good.
She's the reason why I play basketball. She's the reason why I'm doing all this, so that I can give her the best life possible. So being able to play basketball, and I ended up finding myself at Westtown. Sophomore year is whenever I finally stepped on the court as a high school player, and that's when I started to find myself making a name for myself.
Man, I'm on fire. I light the whole city up. Pull up in the gun truck, looking like a Studious, riding like the president.
That's it, Derek.
We just came to
I got my first offer my sophomore year summer.
That's what we're here for every day, man.
That was always something I've always wanted. Just being able to say I have a college D1 offer is something I've always dreamed of.
Yep, step through. Good.
Freshman year to my senior year, I went from a jump from being an unranked nobody to my senior year being the #1 player in the class.
You ain't ready for it till you there. You gotta work every day till you get ready.
Being able to go to Duke knowing that I have a target on my back. That's just the environment that I just love being in.
This moment is just where you're building yourself, challenge yourself. You break yourself down until you want to quit and you keep going.
I just really look forward to the competitive edge. Being able to play against the best of the best, being able to play against the pros. It just comes with a certain level of respect.
Here we go. Sit. Yep. Good job, Derek.
Because the real work really starts. You can always dream about it, but the dreams is never going to live up to reality whenever you get your name called.
Take off. Get your feet set, right? Boom.
I've always thought about it. I've always had dreams at night about it, but nothing's going to live up to the real moment. I'm Derek Lively II, and this is my road to the draft.
Well, that's a big look at why I'm, in particular, very high on Lively. I've got him going 13 here to Toronto. His stats from college are not going to pop out at you. If you watch Duke last season, the role that he played, and defensively he was good. I think he is going to grow into a big man that is one of the best. Again, we're talking years down the road. Fill out that frame by another 10, 12 pounds of muscle. I think he will have a reliable perimeter shot, and I'm not just talking the corner threes that he was popping up at Duke there. I saw him as a high school prospect, and he was able to rim run, catch on the run, catch, pop, hit threes. I think that he is going to be inevitably taken many spots too late, even here, but we're trying to project some team behavior. Lively, 13. Give him a little bit of time for some more growth, and you saw a lot there why he is a particularly intriguing prospect. And I do believe as we head into Thursday night, his stock is actually starting to creep. Before it was a lot of he could go anywhere from like 15 to 20, and now you're hearing more and more likelihood that he's going to wind up getting taken in the lottery.
All right, let's move along. Kyle, this seems to be as good a time as any to maybe change the conversation that surrounds the Pelicans. Who's New Orleans taking now at number 14?
Yeah, the Pelicans are going to use this welcome distraction to select Jalen Hood-Schifino from Indiana. Really productive player, one and done with the Hoosiers this past season. Won Big Ten Rookie of the Year as a true freshman. 6'5" guard, wing skills, combo guard who can create, he can attack. He's a really good defensive prospect when he is engaged and he's willing to really lock in on that end of the floor. Needs to improve as a shooter. I think there's some questions about how that will project to the NBA, but shot 33% from three at Indiana. I think that's a pretty good serviceable level, and if he gets to an average shooting level at the NBA level, I think he will be a really good quality combo guard at the next level. Hood-Schifino had some flashes as a Hoosier last season, scored 35 points on the road against a top 5 Purdue team to help take down the Boilermakers. So I think long-term, you're looking 3 or 4 years down the line. Hood-Schifino is someone who has all-star potential. And if I'm the Pelicans, I'm looking 3 or 4 years down the road, hoping that this could end up being one of the best value picks in the draft.
All right, Jalen Hood-Schifino going to New Orleans. Adam, every time we talk about the Atlanta Hawks, I feel like Trae Young's name comes up. Who do you have dropping into that situation in Atlanta at number 15?
Well, I've got a guy who could play either with or without Trae Young, and that's Cason Wallace. And I think obviously there are some variables, undetermined variables in Atlanta in terms of whether they're going to continue to build around Trae Young or whether they're ultimately going to move off him. I think with the coaching change, they're certainly going to give it a good hard look before they make any decisions. But Cason Wallace is a guard who was one of the most efficient players in high school basketball a year ago. He went to Kentucky, and then all he did there was show that he was even farther along offensively than we thought, and still an outstanding defender. Here's what he is. He is as tough a competitor as you will find in this class. He's exceptionally long, he's physical, and he's physically strong. Now, offensively, we didn't really think he was a dynamic creator in high school, but he exceeded our expectations, not just in terms of his ability to get paint touches, but also to make open threes. That's going to be really important when you're talking about playing alongside someone like Trae Young. And then defensively, he's a standout. So with DeJounte Murray already in Atlanta, this gives them another strong two-way guard that you can surround Trae Young with to try and protect him on the defensive end of the floor, and then enough offensive upside so that if he has to take on a bigger playmaking role, he's capable of doing that.
All right, let's go back to the Utah Jazz. Second time they're picking here in the first round. Matt, who do you have them selecting at 16th overall here?
Well, you mentioned second time. There is some curiosity around whether or not Utah will ultimately end up shipping this pick. They have 3 first-round picks. They've got one at the tail end of the first round as well. And this is the second G League Unite player we're going to talk about. Scoot Henderson, obviously being the one everyone knows about. We'll go with Leonard Miller. He's a 6'9.5", 7'2" wingspan. Really has a good potential to step in and be a very nice role player. And I bring that up because I think it's important to remember, especially once we get out of the lottery, and even before then, so many of the players that get drafted, the big picture here, and there are special exceptions, like you are hoping that you can play a role in the NBA and stick around for a second and a third contract. Miller's an intriguing prospect. Like defensively, there's a lot of potential there. He's actually a pretty good passer. He's a really good power wing who, kind of ask around the league, it feels like the opinion on him is floating a bit, but this range feels about right. We'll see if Utah holds on to the pick. He has no business, in my opinion, dropping out of the top 20, and certainly a team might see a lot there, a good potential, but a fine NBA-ready body. We've got Leonard Miller going at 16.
All right, final pick before we hit a break. Kyle, you've got the Lakers taking a guy named Kobe? No pressure or anything, right?
Yeah, seriously. Good luck. Kobe Buffkin from Michigan is going to be the pick here for the Lakers at number 17. Was a fringe top 50 prospect coming out of high school, but Buffkin this past season as a sophomore really developed into the number one option for the Wolverines down the stretch. Actually had a slow start. Jett Howard was kind of their go-to option to start the season, but Buffkin really came along. They turned the keys over to him, and he was kind of their go-to playmaker, scorer, creator, initiator, did a little bit of everything. Hit 35.5% from three last season, developed kind of as the number one option for the Wolverines. A two-way talent, can play on and off the ball. Really crafty, really kind of a slithery type of option. Got a smooth old man game that I think will translate really well to the NBA level. Averaged just 3 points as a freshman at Michigan, but really came on and blossomed last season, averaged 14 points per game. So his developmental arc, his trajectory, I think is really promising. If I'm projecting ahead, I think I like Kobe Buffkin's prospects going forward into the NBA.
And that is CBS Sports NBA draft analyst Kyle Boone. Much thanks to you, and also to 24/7 Sports' Adam Finkelstein and CBS Sports' Matt Norlander as well. Let's relive the glory of picks 11 through 17. The Magic taking the Kansas freshman at number 11. The Hawks going with Cason Wallace at 15. The Lakers selecting Kobe Buffkin out of Michigan at number 17. We've hit the 18 to 24 demographic or something like that. Fresh off an NBA Finals appearance after coming in as an 8 seed, the Miami Heat will have the 18th overall pick in the first round of the draft on Thursday night, followed by Golden State, Houston, the Nets, Blazers, and the Kings. Russ Thaler, glad to be back with CBS Sports' Matt Norlander and Kyle Boone. Adam Finkelstein of 24/7 Sports here with me in studio. Adam, the Heat outplayed their draft position by a long shot here, and they are at number 18 after getting all the way to the finals. So who are they adding to this roster?
Well, I think they are going to add a high upside prospect, and that is Dariq Whitehead. Dariq Whitehead was one of the top 3 players in the high school class a year ago, but at Duke, we never saw a healthy version of Dariq Whitehead. To his credit, he tried to play through it on multiple occasions. Unfortunately, all that did was really hurt his draft stock, because this is a player who a year ago was widely believed to be a lottery pick caliber talent. Now, the only thing that changed for me in the last year in terms of his long-term progression, I think he's a better shooter than I did a year ago. I didn't have nearly as much faith in his shooting coming out of high school as I do given his year at Duke. In high school, we knew him as an ultra competitor, as a defender, a big wing, who could play as a secondary ball handler in a pinch. I think he fits that Miami culture, and I think given the progression he's shown as a shot maker, if he can get healthy, and that's the big if, he's got a very high ceiling.
All right, Matt, it kind of feels like an offseason of transition a little bit in San Francisco. Who do you have Golden State taking at 19?
You know what? I've got a guy that if he is there at 19, I think the new GM, Mike Dunleavy Jr., will be excited to take. That's Jaime Jaquez, in-state out of UCLA. Plenty of experience, and after taking a few chances on some young players in recent drafts, I think Golden State might embrace the idea that if there's a guy that is just all in as a competitor, also a pretty good athlete, and has some experience behind him, I think Jaquez is that kind of player. He had a really good showing at the Combine, has really held a wonderful reputation as a player, as a teammate, as a person for a while, and I understand that he's, in some ways he's not a guy that is getting a lot of pop and buzz, but I tell you what, behind the scenes, there's an increasing notion. I mean, he received a green room invite. There's an increasing notion here that he's not going to last outside the top 20. So we have him going on the back end of that, going to Golden State. If that does wind up playing that way, I think that would be a wonderful fit. Frankly, what we just talked about, Jaquez to Miami or Golden State, either of those spots would not surprise me at all.
And we've reached the final pick of the top 20. Here we are with the Houston Rockets. Kyle, who do you have them taking?
Yeah, to round this out, I'm gonna take Andre Jackson Jr. from UConn. This is someone who I think we will look back in a few years and think, man, this guy should have gone 10 spots higher, 15 spots higher. He is a top 15 prospect, according to CBS Sports' Matt Norlander. And I think the big question is the jump shot. Can he fix his shot? And if he does, I think he's clearly on trajectory to be one of the best combo guards in this draft. He's long, plays great defense, brings the intangibles to the field. And this is a player who last season kind of helped keep UConn together. They had a really poor stretch where they won the national championship, but before that, they lost 6 of 8 games, kind of helped keep that team together. A really good teammate, very vocal, a really good leader. When I was at the NBA Draft Combine in Chicago last month, he was someone who, when you're watching the scrimmages in Chicago, he was the guy you heard talking. He was keeping his teammates in check. He was keeping kind of everyone in line. So a guy who brings a lot of intangibles, leadership, someone who I'd want to bet on at number 20. I think this is a good value here for the Houston Rockets.
All right, Adam, you got pick number 21 with the Nets. You've got him taking Arkansas guard Nick Smith Jr. Now, before we get to your reasoning why they're doing that, let's take a look at his draft journey presented by Jeep.
My parents always believed in me since day one. Installed that in me just to, as long as I stay positive and just put the work in, and whatever you want to do, you can really accomplish.
That's it, guitar.
It just says Nick Smith Day right here.
Hook that.
We still got work to do, and we still got goals we want to reach in. But it's just the beginning. When the time comes, I'll be ready.
I'm Nick Smith Jr., and this is my road to the draft. I grew up in Jacksonville, Arkansas, small town. My dad put the ball in my hands when I first came out the womb. He went to college at Jacksonville State, Alabama. He became a coach. I just grew around the players, and that's how I fell in love with the game. My mom was always there for support and, and the help I needed and guidance. It helped me out a lot. Just learned a lot about myself, how competitive I am throughout my life.
We got 5, we need 1.
That kind of turned me into a whole different player on the court.
Yeah, right there.
All I know is win, that's for sure.
There you go.
Playing Twitter, what's a gopher, bro? All I know is win, that's for sure.
At first, really wasn't getting a lot of recruitment.
Good, good.
Towards the end of the recruitment process, it was crazy. Pretty much every school in America was hitting me up. I feel like going to Arkansas was a good fit.
Hey, okay.
All season is for a reason. We're in the process of, just preparing for the draft.
Let's go.
We still got work to do, and we still got goals we want to reach in. It ain't over, so, just the beginning.
Comfortable up on my throne. It's your time. Time to begin on.
What I'll be bringing to the team is just a competitive spirit. Ready to work, ready to get better each and every day.
Hey.
Just being coachable, being a guy that's everybody want to play with, just being a guy that's going to get everybody else better.
25. Good job, Nick.
So here's the part of the story that you didn't see in that flashback. 2 years ago, Nick Smith came in on a team named Brad Beal Elite in the Nike EYBL. Was just coming out of COVID. He played alongside a guy who was perceived to be the star of that team named Brandon Miller. They got to Nike Peach Jam. It was the first time college coaches were back out in 2 years, and Nick Smith stole the show. He was clearly better than Brandon Miller on that team. He went on to finish as the top-ranked high school prospect in the country going into Arkansas. Now, he didn't necessarily live up to that hype at Arkansas, but a good piece of that was because he had that knee injury. So the question is, was the player we saw at Arkansas indicative of what we're going to see in the NBA? Because if it is, there are real concerns in the defensive end of the floor and in terms of his overall feel for the game. Or Was he just rushing because he wasn't totally healthy and he was trying a little too hard to prove himself? There is a significant upside here because we are talking about a very skilled, very smooth guard with good positional size who can play on or off the basketball. If he can hold his own defensively, his shot creation, his shot making can be a huge asset, especially when you're talking about this late in the first round. So there is a very high ceiling for Nick Smith and, quite frankly, a reason why he was the #1 recruit in the country a year ago.
Well, the Nets have a kid who's got a big upside, and they've got 2 picks in a row here, 21 and 22. Matt, the back end of a Brooklyn double dip is yours. Who do you have him taking?
Well, if this does wind up sticking, I'm taking a different kind of player, as the Nets should do if they wind up being in the spot. I'm going to go Bryce Sensabaugh out of Ohio State. Chris Holtmann is coming off a terrible season, the worst of his head coaching career, but he has another one-and-done player, and Sensabaugh was not a top 80 recruit coming into Ohio State, but he turned in a really good season. A lot of that's because of the shooting and the scoring. Kind of did it out of necessity. Big player, big body. Now, he is not someone with immense amount of burst. I think defensively, there is definitely a lot of road to make up, but there's a belief out there among some NBA evaluators that Sensabaugh's offensive upside puts him close to top 10 in this draft class. So we'll see if that winds up actually coming to be the case there. He stepped into a role that he maybe wasn't even fully expecting, and he thrived there. He's big. I mean, when you see him on the floor, he's got a lot to him. From a physicality standpoint, he is ready for the NBA. I do happen to think that with him, fit matters and role matters. Where he actually goes is going to have a real impact on his success and statistical profile, guys, and on his rookie deal. But this feels like a good range, and I could certainly see Brooklyn taking a chance on Sensabaugh if he's there. There's a chance he's actually gone before we even get to this point as well.
All right, that's the Nets. Back-to-back picks at 21 and 22. Portland's up next at number 23, and Kyle, the pick is yours.
Yeah, we already got Scoot Henderson going to Portland, so I'm going to add some size for the Trailblazers here and select Trace Jackson Davis from Indiana, 4-time All-Big Ten performer, former consensus All-American. There was a stretch last season where he was the most impressive and I think the best college basketball player, better than Zach Edey, better than some of the other National Player of the Year candidates. So this is a guy who spent 4 years in college. I think the NBA typically overlooks or at least undervalues players who spent 4 years in college or spent multiple seasons in college, but his production profile really speaks for itself, and someone who I think can be a really efficient scorer. He's a really good rebounder, someone who can add some toughness. I think there's some optimism even that he can add some three-point shooting to his game. I was watching him at the NBA Draft Combine working out, and that was kind of a facet of his game that he was trying to work on and develop. And so if you're adding Trace Jackson Davis and he's potentially adding a three-point shot to his arsenal in addition to what he already brings, I like the value here that I'm getting at number 23, a guy who I think can be a really good rotation player, someone who can play multiple positions in the front court. I like his upside and his future long-term in the NBA.
All right, the last pick of our second to last segment of this show and this mock draft goes to the team that just snapped the longest postseason drought in NBA history, the Sacramento Kings. Who do you have them taking?
Sacramento Kings are going to take Olivier Maxence Prosper, known as Omax, out of Marquette. Now, Omax was one of the big winners of the pre-draft combine in Chicago because he not only measured in as very long, he was very athletic, he played with an elite motor, and he showed enough shot-making ability so that he can check a lot of boxes. Now, this is not a player who anyone is anticipating is going to go on to be a star in the NBA, but he is a versatile jack-of-all-trades who can potentially contend for a spot within the rotation. And on a Sacramento team that lacks some athleticism and size up front, especially along the wing, he's a really good fit. Again, an athlete, a defender, someone who can make an open shot. He doesn't need to be the focal point of your offense as he showed this year in Marquette, and that is going to make the transition to the NBA game much easier for him than it will a lot of the names that we've already talked about here tonight.
All right, Adam, Kyle, Matt, thank you guys so much. We're almost done. Almost there. Not quite all the way there. Here's a look at the picks 18 through 24. The Heat look to Duke for their first-round selection. The Nets go back-to-back at 21 and 22, while the Blazers take Indiana's Trace Jackson Davis at 23, and the Kings round things out now with the 24th pick. of the first round. They are the final selections of the first round. Memphis followed by the Pacers, Hornets, Jazz, Pacers again, and the Clippers to finish things out. Russ Thaler back here in studio with Adam Finkelstein, 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting. Matt Norlander, the CBS Sports College Basketball Insider, and CBS Sports NBA Draft Analyst Kyle Boone. Now, Matt, the Grizzlies, they won't have Ja Morant for at least 25 games this season. We know. Who do you have them taking with their first-round selection at number 25?
Well, it's Memphis is not going to draft anyone at 25 that is going to make up for the loss of Morant for 25 games. However, I'm going to have someone here that isn't the best or maybe the second best, maybe not even the third best at any single individual trait in this draft. But you know what? Chris Murray out of Iowa does so much good all around. He is a great interlocking piece on any team. I think he can step in and play a real role as a rookie and then grow in the years to come after that. Obviously, what his brother Keegan did while at Sacramento has probably even helped his reputation away. And frankly, maybe it should. College basketball watchers saw just how good of a knack Murray has to make the right plays. I find him to be one of the most intelligent and savvy players in this draft. We've got him going 25 here. I don't think he's going to be there at 25 on draft night, just to be honest. I don't think that's going to happen. He turned down a green room invite, not because he doesn't think he's going to get picked, say, in the top 20. I think he just wants to chill at home and experience one of the greatest nights of his life in the comforts of a household with his family and friends there. So this would be a wonderful pick for Memphis if it doesn't move off this. Chris Murray has a really good intrigue and a very, very high floor. I might even say as high as almost any other player you will see taken in the 20s.
Indiana still has 2 picks left here before the first round is done. Kyle, I don't know what the odds are of them still having these 2 picks this late on Thursday night, but say they do. Who do you have the Pacers taking at number 26?
I have them selecting Brandon Pajemski from Santa Clara. And this is a prospect who is a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, signed with Illinois. And almost as soon as he signed with Illinois, some veteran pieces decided to come back. He virtually did not play, did not make an impact with Illinois. And Brad, I know what the coach there essentially said, you're not good enough to play for us. He goes to Santa Clara, develops into one of the most underrated and most productive players in college basketball last season, was the co-WCC Player of the Year, averaged 20 points per game with Santa Clara, hit 43.8% from three-point range, and has had a really good pre-draft process, was one of the big stars at the NBA Draft Combine, really stood out in the scrimmages. Good frame, good passer, good combo guard, reminds a little bit of Manu Ginobili with a smooth left-hander. A guy who I think will be a good rotation piece in a backcourt for an NBA team for a really long time. At number 26, I like the value that I'm getting here with Brandon Pajemski.
All right, the Hornets had the 2nd overall pick. There'll be a lot less pressure on this next pick that they've got here at number 27, although whoever they're going to pick here is going to have to make the team as well. So who do you have them taking at 27?
I've got him taking Keontae George, who is a player who many people expected to be off the board at this point, at least earlier on in the process. Now, as other upperclassmen have risen up the board, it's caused some underclassmen like George to potentially fall. We'll find that out in about 48 hours. But George is a super confident shot-making guard. I mean, this guy just gets buckets, plain and simple. He can really shoot the ball off the dribble, and while he has played primarily off the ball to this point in his career, not just this past year at Baylor, but previous to that at IMG, he's got on-the-ball potential. And again, this is a theme, if you're listening to this analysis over and over again, on-off-ball guards who can score the ball, who can make plays for others, they have value in today's NBA. And I just think Keontae George has got a good chance to be an instant offense type guy coming off the bench in the future. You have to give him a lot of credit. He totally changed his body in the last year, in the best shape of his life, playing with more athletic pop. If he can prove to be as good of a shooter off the catch as he is off the dribble and hold his own defensively, I think he's going to be in the NBA for a long time.
All right, we're getting down to it. The Jazz are going to have 3 first-round picks at the start of the night Thursday. This is the last of them. Matt, who do you have Utah taking?
I've got a guy that I think there's a wide variety of opinions on, and his spectrum is fairly wide. I've got Jet Howard here. Jet Howard, I mean, I saw him play before he got to college, saw him play in college. He had some really bright moments, On the defensive end, there's just so much work that clearly needs to be done. But all I know is I've seen Jet Howard step up and make a lot of big-time basketball plays and a lot of big-time moments, and I was just about to say I trust his range. Here we go again. We see him some shot making, see him driving to the tin there. I just think he has enough of a game to stick in the league and to be worth a first-round pick. I have a first-round grade on him. There are weaknesses to his game. He's got some work to do. He doesn't have, elite athleticism or anything like that. But I just think he has enough in his bag. And, oh, by the way, go check out who his father is. Juwan Howard played like 29 years in the NBA. So I do take stock into that as well. I think he's absolutely worth a late first-round flyer if by chance he's still there. Some believe he will be gone before pick 25.
Yeah, look, Jet's got a lot to live up to if he's trying to live up to his dad's NBA legacy. Like Utah, Indiana has 3 first-round picks. Unlike them, 2 of them are in the final 5 picks of the first round. Kyle, I certainly hope the green room is empty by now. Who do you have the Pacers selecting 29th overall?
Yeah, someone who is expected to be in the green room. That is Noah Clowney from Alabama. This class in general is pretty thin when it comes to big men. Outside of Victor Wembanyama, we've seen Derek Lively get off the board here pretty early. Noah Clowney, I would be stunned if he is still on the board here at number 29. Per 40 numbers last season at Alabama, he had more productivity than Derek Lively in points, in rebounds, in three-point shooting percentage. This is a guy who has a 7'3" wingspan. I think he's a high-level defensive prospect. Really good mobility, someone who can be kind of above the rim flyer. He can be a lob threat, someone who can space the floor a little bit. There's some optimism that he could be a floor spacer. Showed some promise there as a three-point shooter, and you're seeing some highlights there where he's actually taken some players off the bounce. So there's a lot to like here for someone who's 6'11", can play both ends of the floor. At number 29, I think you're getting someone who can be a potential starter, and I think that's pretty good value.
All right, Adam, you've got the honor of announcing the final pick of our final mock draft before the real deal comes our way on Thursday night. Who are the Clippers selecting 30th overall?
They're going to take Xavier's Colby Jones because he's another one of these college basketball veterans who doesn't necessarily have a ton of star potential in the NBA, but is very rare in terms of his ability to step right in and potentially contend for a spot in the rotation. 6'5", strong body, really NBA caliber frame right off the bat. Another one who can play both on and off the ball. And with the Clippers, you see someone like Terrence Mann, who's not necessarily a true point guard, get plenty of on-ball reps as they build around Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. He's a very good defender. He's a very good perimeter rebounder. He knows how to cut. He's a very good passer. If the three-point shooting can pan out, we saw some really important strides from him in terms of his floor spacing ability last year. If he can stay consistent with that, he's going to be a solid role player in the NBA, but the three-point shooting is the key.
All right, there you have it, folks. Our final mock draft is now in the books. Much thanks to our experts, Matt Norlander and Kyle Boone, College Hoops Insider and NBA draft experts for CBS Sports, respectively, and 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting, Adam Finkelstein, in studio. I'm Russ Thaler, and for all things NBA draft, you're going to want to tune in to CBS Sports HQ Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for on-the-clock coverage. Our team of experts will react to each and every pick, handing out complete draft grades as well. We'll also have you covered all day with previews and the best NBA draft analysis you're going to find anywhere. Thanks so much for watching this edition of On the Clock, presented by Jeep.